an imperfect market and make it more perfect.
I think it's time we blow this thing.
See that?
Get everybody in the stuff
This
together.
lowly farmer has
Okay,
more time
3, 2,
to do
1,
things
it's
that they
jam.
like.
J to the money guy, 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 J.
But Americans know cream pie, except for them. God bless cream pie, and God bless America. And China.
Hey, boys and girls, all gather around here for the econ lesson today. My name is Jake Two Money, and today I'll be explaining a little concept known as government intervention. As I'm sure you all know, the government and the economy are not perfect, so occasionally they need to influence each other. Soil's no good this year. During the early stages of the Great Depression, the agricultural boom that happened within the U.S. caused corn to be produced at an unprecedented level. It became cheaper for farmers to burn bushels of corn instead of coal. Corn instead of coal, that's crazy. This caused farmers to go broke.
Crabs is sewage proof.
And depression proof. People gotta eat. We're gonna sell these on the street.
We're crab people now.
Crab.
We're crab people now?
Yes.
You want us to become crab people? That's your new business plan?
And dropped the price of corn significantly. This was inefficient, and it necessitated government action. So what did the government do? The government paid farmers not to produce.
Shots for everybody. The government is reimbursing me all the money I lost. I love this country. Baby, I'm back.
Wait, you got a bailout?
Yeah, you know it, pal.
You got bailed out?
Isn't that crazy? The government pays people not to do something. Let's go talk to a farmer.
Hi, Jake Two the Money guy.
Hey, farmer.
You have saved my farm with your government intervention and everything. Now I don't have to produce, and now the price of corn has risen, and I've been able to buy more goods around my house and spend more leisure time doing the things I like. And you know, that's just been great. I have to say, I love the government.
Okay, so we learned about an example of when government intervention is good, but this is not always the case. Let's look at this market. We got our supply, we got our demand, meeting right here in equilibrium. But let's say the government says, hey, let's make it cheaper. Let's put a price ceiling. Let's say the price can only be up to this high. Then what happens? Then they only produce here. See, it went from producing here, let's say that was 30, to producing here, that's only 10. And then our deadweight loss is this entire triangle here. So in this example, this price ceiling intended to give customers a better price. Well, it does give 10 customers a better price, but it creates this giant triangle of deadweight loss.
It's like some type of like gray food or something.
What did he say?
Yeah, how about these prices?
The same thing can happen when we do a price floor. Let's say that we want to help out producers and say, okay, we can only sell for this price now. Once again, we're only producing here because although a lot of suppliers want to supply at that price, only a very small number of consumers want to buy there. So once again, we go from this many produced and sold to only this many. So once again, we lose a lot. 10 producers will be very happy to sell at this price, but there is once again tremendous deadweight loss.
Which price do you like better?
What is going on?
So, a good thing to remember is that a price floor always moves up the price because you're saying this is the new minimum, and price floors lead to surplus. Surplus means that they're producing more than they need. Suppliers want to produce a lot at a high price, but nobody wants to buy at a high price. Price ceilings, on the other hand, well, they make shortages. And this is because everybody wants to buy something if it's less money, but producers only want to make so much. So there's going to be a lot of people who don't get it at the price that it's being sold at. So that's just a really easy way to remember price floors and price ceilings. They are a good way of changing the price, and they always work to change the price in the way you want them to. But they usually will either cause a surplus or a shortage, and that's why a lot of people are against it.
I can't win with you.
This is what my real voice sounds like.
What's happening? You don't...
Alright, so we talked about okay, taxes and subsidies. This is the more important part. I think that price floors and price ceilings are pretty easy as long as you don't get them confused, but this stuff can be difficult. So there's two types of taxes and subsidies. There is a per unit and a lump sum. Now, if you ever see a question about a lump, just so you know that if you see excise tax, just know it's the same as per unit. Sometimes they say excise, but it's the same thing. Per unit, excise, just don't get them confused. It's like the same thing. I didn't mention it because I forgot, but I think it's important for you to know maybe. Sum, you can pretty much just ignore it because what a lump sum tax or subsidy does is just give them a certain amount of money, and this does not change it doesn't change demand and it doesn't change supply. So this really doesn't affect anything. If there's a lump sum tax or a lump sum subsidy, both lines will be the same. They'll still produce at the same price and quantity. So this, don't pay any attention to that. What is really the meat and potatoes of this unit is per unit taxes and per unit subsidies. So let's say you have a simple market, you have your supply, and you have your demand. And let's say right now they're producing at $5 and 10 units. And let's say that we kind of want to discourage this behavior, or we want to raise some revenue.
I think we should tax all bad things, like racism and women's vaginas.
We're not taxing anyone's genitals.
What the hell are we doing here? Come on, boys.
So we tax it. When you tax a good, you move the supply line up by however much you're taxing it. So if this is a 5-unit tax, now it's going to be here. We'll say S1 is our new supply line. And you'll see that this is 10. The distance between S1 and S2 is 10 no, $5, right? It's a $5 tax. And so I bet you're thinking, okay, so if before people were paying $5 and now we had a $5 tax, now they'll pay $10, right? But that would be wrong, because when you shift the supply, you also have to factor in that now that this good costs more, or that the suppliers are not willing to sell it as at low prices, people are going to demand less of it. So the new price, consumers still don't buy 10. Now that it's increased, now they're only going to buy, what, let's say 7, right? And they are going to pay more, but not as much more as $5, which the tax was. So quantity produced goes from 10 to 7, and price goes from 5 to 6. When you tax something, people will buy less of it, and the stuff they do buy will be more expensive, because suppliers will have to charge more for it. So, let's look at how this affects consumer surplus and producer surplus. So as we know, consumer surplus is the triangle on the top, and producer surplus is on the bottom. So consumer surplus is green, producer surplus is purple. Now let's see what happens when we do the tax. So now the tax is like this. Yeah, let's say it was a $5 tax. So here, this vertical line represents the distance between the two. So it's a $5 tax. So at the bottom here, let's say it's 4, and at the top it's 9. So now the new, so this is the new supply with tax. And if we look at where demand intersects this new supply, the new price is $9, and they are producing 6, let's say. So $9 and 6. Let's look what happened to our surpluses. So our consumer surplus got a lot smaller. It used to be this whole triangle, now it's here because our price increased and our quantity decreased. And you would think maybe producer would increase, right? Because their triangle went from this to this, but no. What happened to producer is it also decreased. And producer surplus gets smaller because even though it looks like they now have 9 instead of 5, they're not actually getting that $9. They're only getting $4 because 5 of those dollars go to the government because it was a $5 tax. And this third rectangle, see now there's 2 triangles in a rectangle, this represents the government's profit. And government revenue is this orange box here, because you have to think, if there's 6 units being produced and there's a $5 tax per each unit, then $30 goes to the government. This orange box represents the $30. And just to sort of round this out, we can see this little triangle here used to be filled in. Now it represents deadweight loss. This is the inefficiency that comes with taxes. And if you understand that, hopefully you do, subsidies is pretty much the same thing, just going the other way. So instead of shifting it left or up, you shift it right or down. And once again, you get quantities and prices. So when you subsidize something, the price goes down because you want to make more of it, quantity demand. So just think of subsidies as like a reverse tax. So when it comes right down to it, there's nothing ick about economics.